Hey guys, so it's a KatArtDay again, and today it's gonna be a bit untraditional because usually I just draw things and you have to look at it. This time I want to tell you about my favorite thing someone else made, which honestly is probably more interesting. So this summer I actually read quite a bunch of comic books, and out of those only like one and a half made it into my selection. So I'm not just telling you, what's new, what's out there, what you could try reading. I'm gonna tell you really which ones of the comic books I genuinely enjoyed, and which ones stayed with me, which ones made me think, which ones really made me laugh out loud. So yeah, let's start. I'm gonna start with possibly my favorite graphic novel of all time. Now, this is not for everybody. I would say if you like modern history of Europe, if you're interested in the events of Second World War, then you should most definitely read Mouse. Compared to some other comics, this has so much more story. It's quite, the art style allows it to be quite dense in the storytelling, if you know what I mean. Just, like every double page has just so much to read. So to give you a little bit of an intro, this is a book. It's basically a Holocaust survivor's story retold by his comic artist son. So it basically has this whole, overarching story of Art Spiegelman, the man who created this, talking to his father, who is the main character in this book, who went through Second World War events, Holocaust, and it's kind of that like survival of the smartest kind of story. It just feels a lot more genuine than like a lot of Hollywood movies about this topic. I've personally probably read this about 7 times. It's just a book that, like, if I am bored and if I have it around me, or if I'm at someone else's places and he has a copy, I will always love reading, even if it's just a little bit. Obviously, if it's your first time, you need to read the whole thing. This edition is a collection of both volumes. Originally it came out as book 1 and book 2. Book 1 is more about the kind of like, that sounds weird, but like pre-concentration camp events in the life of the main character. The second half is the concentration camp part. Yep. So the next book is one that I did actually read this summer, and it's the one that I found the most entertaining, but at the same time it's genius how in such a simple and fairly short story that you can get through in a couple of hours, let's say 2-3 hours with some thinking about it. It just has like so many different emotions that it gives you. It's funny, but it's also sad, and the whole time you just don't really know who's the good guy, who's the villain. Are they fighting against this bigger evil? Is one of the main characters evil? It's slightly confusing, but in a way that life is. It's just good character writing, and it's Nimona. This is created by an illustrator who I've always known from her Tumblr, I think, and she goes under the Tumblr name Ginger Haze, but her actual name is Noelle Stevenson. Yes, wow, I even remember that. See, I like it that much. Sorry, the sun is coming out and I think I'm getting a bit of a ghost face. Sorry. So yeah, it's a story of a shape-shifting girl who wants to join the local villain as his sidekick, and it starts off very lightheartedly. It just the whole premise sounds like, wow, this is gonna be fun, and the first pages, the first chapters really make you feel like this is gonna be mostly about comedy. But it's not. Like, you learn more about the backstory of everyone, and even though you don't get super deeply into it, it manages to, in a simple couple of pages, show you why the people are the way they are. The art style is amazing. It's, Noelle Stevenson, she just has this very specific personal art style that I personally love. Might not be your cup of tea, but I love it. I think that the art style is the thing that, you know, takes it from just like this is written funnily to this also looks funny. So it, you know, it just has it all. Moving on to something creepy. Through the Woods. So this is, imagine like a love child of the old schooly, creepy, you know, Anderson-y, grimmy fairy tales, and just like more modern horror. This is a collection of multiple stories. They're all pretty short, but are all pretty creepy. I've always loved this in you know, regular book form as well. I always loved collections of short creepy stories, because the thing about creepy is that it works partially in, you know, what it tells you, but almost majority of the fear comes from what it does not tell you, if you know what I mean. Once again, the art style in this is wonderful. I really need to go and find out if this artist, whose name is Emily Carroll, if she did anything else after this. If you already kind of are into comics, the chances are that you've already read the whole Scott Pilgrim versus the World series. The same author, Brian Lee O'Malley. I can always remember just the last part of his name because it rhymes and it's amazing. So Ryan Lee O'Malley, who created the series, also quite recently, probably about, I don't know, 2 years ago, published this book, which is called Seconds. And it's a standalone book. It's not a part of a series. You can see it's quite thick, but it's quite easy to get through. And it's pretty different from Scott Pilgrim. It's a bit funny, but I would say it's quite a serious story. For me, it seemed like it's a lot about the shift from childhood to adulthood, you know, responsibilities and all that, but it also has some supernatural things coming in, kind of both. Supernatural growing up. Yeah, that's basically it. I think that the combination of the two makes it both relatable and kind of exciting, because, you know, you both know where he's going with this, but also you have no idea where the story is going, because there's this supernatural thing coming in. And is it good? Is it bad? Like, what's it gonna teach the main character? Last on my list is Hark a Vagrant, which is a collection of comic strips from Kate Beaton's online comics. You can technically go to the Hark a Vagrant website and read pretty much all of this, and I mean much more, online for free. But if you're a fan of classic literature and history, I can guarantee you're gonna love it so much that you will go and purchase the physical copy. For me personally, like, some of the strips are funnier than others, simply based on, you know, how well I understand what she's talking about, or, you know, drawing about. Personally, I am not like 100% familiar with all of American or Canadian history, but I have to say that throughout reading the webcomic, you know, and that has been like, you know, 6 years for me now, I've learned a lot of stuff too. Sometimes you read her strips and, you know, it's just funny straight away because, well, because you get it. And sometimes you just find it like, because her humor is kind of a bit of a dumb humor, but in a good way, if you know what I mean. I mean it in the best way possible. Like, that's my favorite kind of humor, is kind of like dumb humor based on something that's supposed to be smart. So sometimes you just think, wow, this is so dumb, it's funny, but then you kind of look into it and you learn some new stuff. So yeah, it's also educational. If you're a teacher, maybe you should read these to your pupils. Well, not all of them. Some of them might be a bit not suitable. Okay, so that was my main list of favorites, but I wanted to give you a bit of a bonus round now. And the last thing I want to mention, and this is not safe for work, is one of my favorite online comics ever, and it's called Oglove, and it's basically a combination of a fantasy world story and a kind of like a silly erotica. If you can't imagine what silly erotica is, you have to go read Oglove. Oglove is great. The art style is amazing. I'm so jealous of the person who's drawing it, especially their good skill of drawing penises. There are some good penises. If you don't like seeing penises, even drawn ones, don't go read Oglove. If you're okay with naked bodies and cum sprites, then you totally have to read it. Okay, so I think that was it for me. I think that Simon just got up. It's about 11:30 in the morning. I might have been a bit distracted because I hate making videos when he's next door and my door is not closed. It makes me real nervous. If you enjoy this, if you got all the way through this video and you enjoy this, please like and subscribe.